Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, his wife, Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, they've all been fined for not following COVID lockdown rules, which they themselves imposed on the UK. So this scandal has now been dubbed Partygate, because while London was in lockdown, they were having parties at number 10 Downing Street, which, again, for those of you who don't know, number 10 is where, it's the British equivalent of the White House. It's where the Prime Minister works, and he lives upstairs in number 11. And so, do you want to guess how much people were fined? You know, the peasants, and how much Boris Johnson was fined? So the fines, range between £100, some of them up to £1,000. Boris Johnson paid £50, and there were multiple parties. Look at this headline from the Guardian. They say, it's a joke. Britons who received COVID fines react to Boris Johnson's £50 penalty. Those fined up to £1,000 during UK lockdowns contrasts their experience with the Prime Minister's. So David Wilson, who's this guy, he received a £1,000 fine after hosting an outdoor party. He says followed coronavirus rules at his restaurant in Blackburn. And he says it's £1,000 for us, 50 for them. Where's the justice? This guy over here, he got fined, I think it was £100. You know, basically these are a bunch of stories from the average Joe about how they had to pay more than the Prime Minister. And again, it's not about what you think about the lockdown or any of that. It's the hypocrisy that you have two sets of rules, you know, one for the plebs, one for the peasants, and then one for the elites, right? Let me show you. This is a very this is a very good timeline put together by the BBC. To their credit, I mean they did cover it quite well. Although some people think that this is a distraction from that the Rwanda refugee scheme, you know, sending refugees that come to the UK to Rwanda is a distraction from this. The BBC put together a good timeline. Let's take a look of what they did and what rules they broke. So they say an investigation by the Met into illegal parties has led to at least 50 fines being issued. And this is interesting because in the beginning, the Met didn't want to investigate it. They said, oh, it's retroactive and we don't do that. And then because of public pressure, they had to do it. But again, it's like a slap on the wrist, effectively, right? So Mr. Johnson, the Prime Minister, is being fined for his birthday celebration on 19th of June, 2020. So 30 people attended and sang him happy birthday, according to ITV. Because in the UK, you had all these various, you know, newspapers and channels that broke the news about one party, and then it adds up to like, you know, a dozen things. Now, when they had this 30-people party for Boris Johnson, the rules at the time said that gatherings of more than 2 people were banned by law, and an exception was allowed if the gathering was reasonably necessary for work purposes. So, I don't know about you. Everyone's allowed to celebrate their birthday, but when you're imposing rules on other people and you don't follow them as the Prime Minister, I'm pretty sure a birthday party is not a work-related, not a work-related thing, right? Even though it's taking place at your workplace. And then this is 20th of May, they had a garden drinks party. I love this one, right? Because basically, when he was confronted about it in Parliament, his argument was that, yeah, but I didn't know it was a party. We had the doors open to the garden to let fresh air in to combat the virus. Dude, this was a bring your own bottle event. So is he saying he didn't know what all these bottles of alcohol were for lying around? He thought they were working in the garden. What rubbish? What rubbish? These are the kinds of stupid lies that he keeps coming up with. They're literally photographs of him playing quiz games with wine, in number 10 Downing Street. And he keeps denying it or finding ways out of it. He's such a buffoon. I really feel like it describes him properly. So this was during the first lockdown, when people could not leave their homes or be outside the place they lived without a reasonable excuse, which includes work, right? So this was, again, the bring your own booze event. I love their reasoning. Look how cheeky the lawyers are. Look how cheeky the lawyers are. So the law at the time said if you were doing something, outside your home besides work, it's not allowed. Okay, you need a reasonable excuse, and if you don't have one, it's potentially a crime, a criminal offense. The Prime Minister and his wife, however, were living in Downing Street, so technically they didn't leave their home to attend the party, because as I told you, they live upstairs. It's the same block, right? The law also banned gatherings in public place of more than 2 people, unless they were all members of the same household or the gathering was essential for work purposes. However, lawyers have noted that Downing Street is not a public place. Oh, they're good. They're really good. They're really good. Wow. Got to try that one sometime. And the same day that they had this party, the government's posting on Twitter that they're posting these restrictions that you can only meet 2 people outside your house and you have to be 2 meters apart. And again, as I told you, he thought it was a work event. Apparently, the bottles didn't say otherwise to him. So 13th of November, they had 2 gatherings. Down here, 16th of April last year, leaving parties. So this is before the funeral of Prince Philip. You had two parties taking place in Downing Street. He wasn't there, but he apologized for them. Honestly, I find it hard to believe he didn't know about them. January 14th, last year as well, they had a gathering for a departure of 2 secretaries at number 10. Boris Johnson was there. He made a short speech. They had Prosecco, and the Christmas quiz is, of course, the most famous one because there was a photo of it. I hope that's the photo so I can show it to you. Where is it? There we go. So he's sitting here having a Christmas quiz during a lockdown, literally playing games and making a mockery of everyone else. So he said, I briefly took part virtually to thank staff for their work. Yeah, the issue is not virtually, is that you were physically with people, but okay. And this, of course, was during Tier 2 restrictions in London. They had banned 2 or more people from different households from meeting indoors. And again, work purposes, I'm sorry, but I don't know if a birthday party or, a Christmas quiz is technically work. It takes place at work, but come on, if you or I did that, we would be fined. End of story. There's no question about it. Now, in any case, I'm not going to read to you every single violation, but let me just finish by playing this word salad over here.
Mr. Speaker, I want to apologise. I know that millions of people across this country have made extraordinary sacrifices over the last 18 months. I know the anguish that they have been through, unable to mourn their relatives, unable to live their lives as they want, or to do the things they love. And I know the rage they feel with me and with the government I lead when they think that in Downing Street itself, the rules are not being properly followed by the people who make the rules. And though I cannot anticipate the conclusions of the current inquiry, I have learned enough to know that there were things we simply did not get right. And I must take responsibility. Number 10 is a big department with the garden as an extension of the office, which has been in constant use because of the role of fresh air in stopping the virus. And when I went into that garden just after 6 on the 20th of May, 2020, to thank groups of staff before going back into my office 25 minutes later to continue working, I believed implicitly that this was a work event. But Mr. Speaker...
All right, enough. He's really a caricature, isn't he? Again, you see how they have 2 sets of rules, one for the peasants, one for the elites. They're such hypocrites, and it's not just one party or one thing. How many times did you think this wasn't a work-related, it was a work-related event? Or, oh, I didn't realize it was a party. It's literally a dozen events that have taken place, and they give him a slap on the wrist. £50. That's a joke. These people are stinking rich. They're literally millionaires. They're stinking rich. £50 is not even pocket change for them. And meanwhile, people that are living paycheck to paycheck, they get slapped with £1,000 fine for doing far less egregious things than he did or his staff. his office. And, you know, that could potentially ruin their household, their business. I think it's arrogant to assume everybody can just pay £1,000 fine or £100 fine. And again, if you want to say, well, they should have been following the rules. What about the fucking prime minister? My point is, how are you going to punish, you know, the average Joe, but you're going to let the guy who imposed the rules, you're going to let him trample all over them? What kind of example does that set? It really shows you the double standard, literal, you know, double standard. It's such hypocrisy. And honestly, this is only one example. If you dig and you look at other countries, you're going to find the exact same thing, right? It's just that here the evidence is so overwhelming, and they tried so badly to hide it. At first, it was like, no, this never happened. It was a lie. And it wasn't just him saying it. He had, you know, Dominic Raab and various people in his cabinet saying, no, there were no Christmas parties. It's a lie. And then they had pictures of it, and they said, yes, but I was just doing it virtually. And then, yeah, they just one lie after the other. And the Metropolitan Police just saying, oh, no, we're not going to investigate it because it happened in the past. We don't investigate, you know, COVID breaches retroactively. Hold on a second, but you're fining people retroactively. You're still holding on to them by the scruff. What's... You know, again, why are you giving them special or preferential treatment? And then because of a little bit of public pressure, they give them a slap on the wrist, 50 quid. Ridiculous.